Calculating probabilities involving a normal distribution is very different than a uniform distribution. We don't have clearly defined area formulas like we do for the uniform distribution, so we have to use things like technology to calculate our probabilities. In this video, we're going to look at how to use R and RStudio to help us calculate these values. When finding the probability involved in a normal distribution, we always find cumulative probabilities. So we always find the probability that a randomly selected subject is at or below the indicated value. This means we're always looking at the probability that x is less than or equal to some value a. The command we use in RStudio to find this value is pnorm. We input the value a that we are concerned with, the mean mu, and the standard deviation sigma. Let's look at an example. The mean height of adult males in the United States has a mean of 70 inches with a standard deviation of 3 inches. Let's suppose we want to find the probability that a randomly selected adult male has a height below 65 inches. Our first step is going to be to draw a normal distribution and put the mean, 70, right at the center of that distribution. From there, we approximate the location of 65. I'm going to approximate it about here. And then since we want the height below, we're going to shade that area below 65, all of the numbers that are smaller than 65. Now we want to look at using the command in RStudio. The basic command was pnorm. We input the value we're concerned with, which is the 65, the mean of 70, and the standard deviation of 3. The value always comes first, the mean comes second, and the standard deviation comes third. We can type this into RStudio, and if we do, we get the value 0.04779. This tells me that the probability a randomly selected adult male in the United States being shorter than 65 inches is 0.04779, or a little less than 5%. Continuing with this, let's suppose we want to know the probability that an adult male is taller than 78 inches. So we want the height to be above 78. When we draw our picture, we'll draw an approximation of the normal curve and put 70 at the center just like before. We're going to estimate the location of 78, and this time we want numbers above 78, so we're going to shade to the right. If I try to do something similar to the last one and do my pnorm command using the value of 78, and then the mean and the standard deviation, this is actually not going to work. This is going to give me the area to the left, the unshaded portion in my graph. But that's not what I want. To get the area to the right, I have to consider that this entire thing, the entire curve, has an area of 1. So if I take the entire curve and I subtract the area that I don't want, my unshaded region, then I'll get the area to the right, what I do want. So I took the whole area of the curve and I removed my unshaded piece. If I type this into RStudio, I get the value 0.00383. So this is the probability that a randomly selected male will be taller than 78 inches. Finally, let's suppose we want to know the probability that an adult male is between 60 and 72 inches tall. Once again, let's start with a diagram. I'm going to draw my normal distribution and put the mean 70 at the center. I'm going to put 60 to the left and 72 to the right. The actual locations don't matter as long as we have kind of a general approximation. And this time I'm going to shade between them since I want this between area. If I try to use my larger value, my p-norm value, for 72, comma 70, comma 3, this is actually going to give me this whole area to the left. So that's what this part gives me. If I try to use the 60 value, so I do p-norm of 60, comma, a mean of 70, and a standard deviation of 3, this is going to give me this area to the left of 60. So the first one gives me too much area, and the second one gives me kind of the extra area that I want. So all I have to do is subtract these two to get the true value. This will account for everything smaller than 72. I'll start with finding the probability that the person is shorter than 72 inches. And then I remove those that are also shorter than 60 inches, since I do want them to be above the 60. I can type this into RStudio, and when I do, I get 0.74708, so almost 75%. In general, when we're solving a problem asking about the probability of a normal distribution, there are 3 cases we can be in. For each one of our cases, we should start by drawing a diagram and shading our appropriate area to help us identify which case we should use. And then we're going to use our RStudio commands. If we want to find the probability that we are below a given value x, then we're going to use the p-norm of x, comma, the mean, comma, the standard deviation. If we want to find the probability we're above a given value x, then we do 1 minus p-norm of x, comma, the mean, comma, the standard deviation. And if we want to find something between two values x and y, we do p-norm of y, comma, the mean, comma, standard deviation, minus p-norm of x, comma, the mean, comma, standard deviation. When we're doing this subtraction, it's really important to make sure that the bigger number comes first. So we do need to make sure that y is larger than x. If we reverse the order, we will get a negative number. And since probability can't not be negative, that's going to be a good indication that we have reversed the order of the subtraction.
If you would like to see Professor Pierce make more videos like this one, you can support her on Patreon in the link below. Any and all support means a lot to her. It allows her not only to make more videos, but it also allows her to campaign for free and accessible online education to conferences and other universities. Thank you for watching, and remember, math is for everyone.